Where did my chat go? Oh, right, there's no chat. Because this is YouTube, not Twitch. Hello, YouTube, how are you? Hi, I'm the streamer guy. Now, probably most of the videos you've seen have only been me, on Twitch and just uploading uncut VODs to YouTube. But today, that changes. So, what we're going to be starting to do going forward is trying to do a little bit more editing in the videos, starting with this one. So, I know a lot of you have, I suppose, commented that you don't like the tangents that I go on or the large introductions. Sometimes the reviews themselves don't start for like 10-15 minutes in these videos. So, going forward, you're going to find in the description a link to the time in which the review actually starts, as well as any large tangents are going to be edited out of the videos. So, I would really truly appreciate it if you gave me feedback on this video and let me know what I can do to keep improving the content on YouTube. Thanks, guys.
Diamond hit scan on Anubis. We're going to see some Widowmaker. iContra donated $1. Says, any tips on staying focused in game? I tend to drift off and go to autopilot and stop calling targets and stuff. Surefour had a tweet about this, but just there's no way to really avoid autopilot or consciously forcing yourself to focus, whether you do that through narration, whether you do that through focusing and avoiding distractions, maybe turn down the voice comms a little bit so there's so you can still hear them, but they're not like the primary focus. But at some point, it's just self-discipline is going to be what is required in order to keep yourself focused. How many days until we're full-time? 9? 9 days till we're full-time? 9 days till we're full-time, chat. 9 days. Then all of you guys who actually wanted to see me play the game will actually get to see me play the game, right? Because I'll go back to... I'll probably go up from like 3 days a week streaming to at least 5. Maybe 6. I haven't decided yet. But there's going to be a lot more stream content. It's going to be more than just VOD reviews and analysis. It's going to be me playing. It's going to be pugs. It's going to be tournaments. And if you guys didn't know... So, one thing. Let me off to work. Have a great rest of the stream. See you next time. Hey, cheers, QRM. Let me just get out of here. So if you guys didn't know, let's get out of here. So we figured out that apparently I look a lot like King Henry VIII. Let me find the photo. Okay. So this picture was posted in our Discord, right? And I was like, whoa, did somebody Photoshop me? But apparently I'm like the spitting image of King Henry VIII. So first of all, my Discord name on Discord was King Henry VIII for like a week. But anyway, so we got talking and the 1,000 sub goal. So if we hit 1,000, if and when we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will cast and host a subscriber tournament, a subscriber only tournament in King Henry VIII cosplay. So that's the 1,000 subscriber goal. Is a subscriber only tournament casted and hosted by myself in King Henry VIII cosplay. So I can't fucking wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh my god, like 3 people immediately subbed. That's fucking hilarious. Oh my goodness. Oh man, I should have told people this earlier. Holy smokes. Oh my goodness. I always find it cringy when streamers are like on their screen, they're like, next sub goal is like 650, and then as soon as you get 650, it's like next sub goal is 700. We have a legit sub goal. If we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will host and cast a tournament in King Henry VIII cosplay. How will teams be formed? So how we normally form our teams for tournaments is normally we just have everybody register, and then people register with their SR, and then they're assembled into teams so that they're all even. So you could have like a grandmaster and a bronze on the same team. So that's how we always assemble our teams, because we want it to be, we just want it to have experiences. We want to have lower ranked people to have the chance to play with grandmasters, and nobody likes getting crushed by a team of grandmasters if they're plats. So yeah, we spread out, like everybody registers with their rank, and then we just split the teams up completely evenly. So if there's like a list of 100 people, we just go team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4, team 5, team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4, team 5. It's great fun. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't done one of these tournaments with us on the Discord before, you are missing out. Like the late 88s and the Shanghai meme dragons. Just, oh man, the meme dragons. How do you think King Henry VIII sounded? I want to hear your British accent. I have no idea. Holy shit. A ton of people subbed. Epic Cable 99, Neuralink, Has a Drop, Banana CSGO 17, Sir Raiden, and Mendacious Bean, all with the Prime sub. All guys who are really digging the King Henry VIII cosplay, apparently. Ham Sandwich resubscribed with Prime for 5 months in a row. Henry VIII. Bill Nython with the 100 bits says, Subtrain. Wordman, Tier 1. Helix Bat, Luke Mech with the Prime sub, as well as Crows 8965, Tier 1 sub. Rasaka gifted a sub Tier 1 to Genitus. And then Apathy gifting the Tier 1 sub to Silver Midnight. Numbered used his 100 bits, says, I can't see this stream video in the tab. You have absolutely embarrassed me in front of everyone. Or have you absolutely embarrassed me in front of everyone yet? No, not yet. And I was trying to get a guest to come on, so I'm delaying as long as possible, Numbered, because I want a guest to come on and review your VOD with me. But the people that I've invited have not yet responded to me yet. So it's going to be last, because I'm trying to get a guest reviewer on for your VOD since you are top 500. But no word back on that yet. 55s with the 500 bits says, Cheer 500, King Henry. Thanks, 55s. I appreciate it. This is the first time I've kind of seen you around today, but you've been very generous today. I appreciate it. Pillow Overwatch with the Prime sub, as well as Apathy gifting a second Tier 1 sub to Big Man Tyrone. Hey, the Big Man himself. Big Man and I, we see each other in so many streams, it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's enough kind of lurking around and just shooting the shit. Let's check out this hitscan VOD. Okay. Let's get to it.
Hello.
Oh, you're in a 4-stack. That's no fun. Okay, this is like we're running the classic Tracer Widow dive. There's nothing to nothing to scoff at, especially on Anubis. This is a really strong composition. So, Gleep Donor 100 bits says, first time here and already enjoying it. Greetings from Vienna. Vienna. Ooh. Ooh, international. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Who's better main tank for Nixel, Mano or Janus? They're both very good. I think Mano is better, but only slightly. Just because Janus is a lot more aggressive, instinctual, and he gets punished a lot more, whereas Mano is very cautious and not passive, but patient. So I like Mano's playstyle better. How many wives do you have? 900. Okay. And Bill Nython gifting the Tier 1 sub to Tess. Appreciate it. You guys are too generous. Too generous. Anyway, to the VOD.
Attack commences in 30 seconds.
How do you get rid of the I'm better than my teammates and belong in a higher rank mindset? I feel like this is actually makes me play worse because I get cocky. You always miss my bits? Where were your bits? Oh, shout out to the shit-posting memers like Ham who does nothing. I did miss that one. I legitimately missed that one instead of skipping over it. But, words are hard. What am I saying? Oh, because there was a question in chat. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yes. Okay. How do you get rid of the I'm better than my teammates and belong in a higher rank mindset? I feel like this is actually making me play worse because I get cocky. So if you do feel like you're better than your teammates, that's fine. But so that there's like a few different ways that you can play this. If you were a McCree, and you think you're better than your teammates, that's fine because you can cover for your teammates' weaknesses if you're playing with them, right? You playing with a support will keep them alive. You pressuring the opposing tanks, using your tanks as cover, helps your tanks. You landing more shots, that's good. Now we've talked about it where McCree is not a flanker, but he can like clutch fights where if things are going really wrong, he can flank and solo kill both supports if he uses his flashbang and lands his shots. But at that point in time, the strength of you is removed from the rest of your team, and you're not giving your team the advantage of your superior skills. Now, the other thing to take into consideration is that even if you are better than your team on average, unless you are dramatically better than your team on average over a certain number of games, your win rate's still probably only going to be like 55 to 60%. And you can climb with a 55 or a 60% win rate. You're just only going to climb at about a rate of like 10 SR an hour, 10 or 20 SR an hour. So if you do feel like you're better than your team, make sure to keep contributing and, helping them with your superior skill set, and then embrace the grind, right? So I've talked about this many times in the past, but I made a new account because so many people told me that you could not climb on support. It was impossible to carry on support. People told me this all the time, and I used to be a support main. I used to be quite a dedicated support main. So I made a brand new account, called it Healbot. So if you've ever run into a guy named Healbot in GM or Top 500, that's me. But yeah, so I started in silver and solo queued my way to GM and maintained like a 75% win rate all the way. And then I calculated out my average SR during that climb, and on average, I climbed 60 SR per hour, smurfing really hard. It was 60 SR per hour. So if you're not smurfing, you should be expecting to gain about like 20 to 30 SR per hour. So if you think you belong in platinum, but you just got to gold, you're looking at least 25 hours of gameplay to make it to the next tier, even if at this moment you belong in platinum because of your personal skills. So at some point, you just have to embrace the grind. And you're going to learn and you're going to improve while you're grinding. So maybe you're 2,000 SR right now and you feel like you belong at 2,500. Yeah, but after the 20 hours it will take for you to actually climb to 2,500, maybe you actually learn something that by the time you get there, maybe you actually belong at 2,600 now. So embrace the grind, play with your teammates, don't give up, don't get cocky, embrace the grind. So many mods in chat. How do you get as consistent as OWL players? Practice as much as they do, play as much as they do, don't fuck around. It's just practice. Okay. I'll turn the VOD up a little bit. I always want to like keep the VOD quiet because sometimes I just blow your guys' eardrums out.
Back up.
So, like, the use of the Venom Mine, yes, you can chuck the Venom Mine into the opponent, but especially if they have a Genji, I like placing the Venom Mine directly on me. Now, again, Widowmaker is probably one of my worst characters, so, again, everything from a mechanical standpoint you may want to take with a grain of salt here. But the Venom Mine itself, right, does 75 damage, and a Widowmaker headshot or a Widowmaker body shot does 120. So if you body shot a Genji, you don't even have to land a headshot, but if he tries to engage you and tries to engage you solo, Venom plus a body shot is basically enough to kill him just with a couple taps of your SMG or a melee. So especially if you are going against targets, and targets that aren't going to hard commit you but attack you one at a time, you definitely, nice shot, you definitely want to be going for that defensive Venom Mine instead of chucking the Venom Mine into the middle of the opposing team.
I'm capturing the objective.
Good job, Widow. Widowwatch.
Hello.
The 360? Really? You're gonna get domed.
Objective A captured. Commence attack
No
on
one can
objective
hide
B.
from my sight.
Surprised you didn't go for the hard scoping Anna there. Anna was hard scoped and was an easy headshot. Good grapple usage. You know, this is why like parallel high grounds is so difficult for people solo to kill a Widowmaker for exactly the reason that you just demonstrated. Get domed again. Like anytime that you have parallel high grounds and you can use parallel high grounds, exploit it on Widowmaker. Like Dorado second, the end of Dorado second, for example. So if we have high grounds like this, and you are located here on Widowmaker, if one person goes for you, if one person uses a movement ability to get to you, you can grapple to the second high ground, and then the other person can't do anything about it. Especially with Widowmaker's grapple getting like an 8-second cooldown now. Like Winston's is 6, Genji's is 8. So like you can, if they use mobility to engage upon you, you can just kind of fuck off and then just farm them. Even if you just like pump body shots into them, you don't get a headshot because they just can't, straight up can't pursue. You know, and if they do jump you and chase you a second time, then you're probably only going to be like 1 second away from your next, and then you can cycle back to the next high ground. So I really like your use of like these double high grounds here because it makes it nearly impossible for divers to actually kill you because you can just reposition to a different high ground. So unless they have a way to actually get to you on that second high ground, like ironically a Pharah, then you're pretty much safe. So against like solo Genjis, solo divas, things like that, solo Winstons diving you, they can't really do a lot. So your biggest threat by far is their Widowmaker here. I know Jayne doesn't like it too much because it's not really representative of the global population. What did you just refer to? Santi. Is overbuff a good tool for knowing your real skill? Stats are always going to be limited. It's fine if you take it to try and find a weakness or a strength, but any reading into it any more than that. Overbuff itself is also heavily influenced by how many hours you have on a character. So if you just play like 10 hours of a character the first couple days that the new season starts, it'll think you're like a top 100 or like a top 10 player on that DPS. So overbuff is skewed very heavily by how much playtime you have on the hero. I forgot to mute my phone. Sorry, chat.
I need healing.
Hey, PvP. Good to see you. What are our other VODs? Give me a second. Diva, Lucio, Winston. I wish we had a projectile. We'd invite PvP on.
Experience festivity.
I'm not sure. I haven't been paying attention because maybe it's that you're. So you are recording comms here, but I'm not sure because sometimes people record VODs, but they're not hearing their own mic. So I haven't been paying attention if you've been queuing up in the top left. But Widowmaker also requires a surprising amount of comms in the fact that if you're playing dive and you land a body shot or you put something to 1, you also have like, not only do you have the ability to put people pretty low, like 1 body shot plus like a half charge body shot, put people really, really low. And you have, again, really good sight of the overall field, and you have, your infrasight, which can give people's positions away. So Widowmaker actually requires a surprising amount of comms, especially when you're playing with dive, so that people can follow up on your directs, much in the same way that if you direct somebody on Pharah, that alone can trigger a dive. And the team that I was on, that now this is before Contenders Trials, so our team would have qualified for Contenders Trials. But so we got 3rd or 4th in the open division, but our primary strategy was that our Pharah player was the one who actually called the engages, either based on a tank using their cooldowns, getting the tank low, or directing a support or a DPS or something like that. So we would all be very passive. Our Pharah would kind of, our poke or tracer would be in position. And then if the Pharah thought that a tank used too many resources or managed to land a direct on a squishy, the Pharah would call a dive and we'd just collapse on them. So that was like one of our primary strategies. Now this was seasons and seasons ago. This current strat doesn't work as well. But yeah, with Pharah and Widowmaker having the ability to like have a team or something that can follow up on directs very quickly is an extremely powerful tool. Hell to you too, Jet. Hell. Why are you at 900p and 60 FPS? Because Twitch only allows 6K bitrate, so 1080p 60 FPS is not enough for games with a lot of motion in it, like Overwatch. I could do 1080p 60 FPS, but Twitch itself has a bitrate limit of 6K. Hey, I appreciate it, Alan Sornis. Oops. Are you streaming today? So, PvP actually offered me to... So one of the things... Did you want to... After... Well... PvP and I are in talks, I suppose you could call it, to do something pretty cool between our two streams. So I think it's going to be really cool. So I think the first... And it's going to be after I go full-time. So I go full-time on April 30th. So I think we were talking about doing it in the first week of May. We're going to have like a collab between PvP and myself. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm not going to be able to remember it well enough, just off the top of my head. So I'll kind of spare the details unless PvP wants to talk about it. But it's going to be pretty cool. First week of May. We've got some neat stuff happening. Down with Valves, resubscribed Prime for 4 months in a row. Appreciate it, Down with Valves. Welcome back. SV Pass with 100 bits. Long have we waited. Chat debated. Subs accumulated. King Henry activated. Apathy dropping the 400 bits. I appreciate it, my friend. Yako saying shout out to my shout out that you missed. I always just miss yours. And Bill Nython gifting the tier 1 sub to Tess. Okay, let's get back to it. Now, Temple of Anubis is actually one of the more difficult 2CP maps for Widowmaker to play on. Now, the reason for this is that there's so much cover for the people who are actually on the point, where if you consider the difference between something like defending Temple of Anubis and defending, let's say, Horizon Lunar Colony. If a Widowmaker gets onto a perch and overlooking Horizon Lunar Colony, there's no pillars, there's no cover, there's no temple or anything where a person can very easily and quickly take cover. So one of the difficulties about this is that Widowmaker can get kills. Like, if you had killed that Zenyatta right there, and not died yourself, if your team is not ready to follow up on kills, it can be very, very common in which Widowmaker gets kills that straight up don't matter. So especially on 2CP, just getting kills on Widow is not enough. You have to get kills at the right time for your team to be able to capitalize on that. Especially with the spawn advantage being so heavily in favor of the defenders, if you kill an opponent because you're poking and you can poke from long range without really any risk of getting killed or staggered or punished, if you get a kill while somebody's like still 40 feet away from the main choke, your team can't do shit. And like, yeah, you killed them, but they're going to be back in like 13, 14 seconds. And it's going to be like that kill didn't even matter. So when Widowmakers flame you because they're doing so well and they're getting so many kills on things like Anubis B, the problem is not that they're not killing things, it's that they're not killing things at the right time or they're missing their shots when they actually would have mattered. So very challenging here to play Widowmaker on Anubis B. Like, really great sightlines, but just the nature of Anubis B makes it difficult for kind of like mid-tier Widowmakers. Is it even to poke damage as Widow? Like, sights really isn't that important on 2CP. Sights are really important on things like Koth, so that you can actually see the main use of sights in terms of like a team play situation is not to let the Widowmaker get easy headshots. the main benefit of using Infrasight in like a 6v6 a coordinated play scenario, or even in comp at the higher ranks, is so that you can more easily tell which route of attack people are coming from. So, and this is rotations. Now, if you're hearing me the word rotation, and you've heard me say rotation frequently on the stream, and you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, I'm about to tell you what the fuck I'm talking about. So, most maps have like a main, and let's jump into Overwatch for this, actually. Let's jump into Overwatch. Let's explain rotations.
Okay, in the segment that I've cut out of this video, I talk about the basics of positioning and rotation on Nepal Shrine. If you're interested, then you should be able to click the on-screen annotation or look for the link to the video in the description below.
Où en étais-je?
Soldiers now.
Okay. Okay, let's go, let's go.
So now we're playing Soldier instead of McCree. Oh, you already have McCree. So now you're running double hit scan. Now, we've talked about this a lot of times before, but double hit scan is normally weak for the simple fact that it can, like, since you have two hit scans that are playing in basically the same manner, it becomes weak because you can't control different types of map geometry with a single type of DPS. So hit scans prefer sightlines, projectiles prefer areas, right? So if you have two hit scans and you're playing together, you're not playing split, then you can only control a single sightline, and like, yes, you're putting twice as much effort into that one specific sightline, but it's a lot easier for the opponent to counter you. Like a Diva, for example, counters both of the hit scans at the same time with no added effort. Positioning yourself in such a way that neither of the hit scans can shoot you based on line of sight is an adequate way to counter you, which is why you normally don't want both of your DPS in the same category. You don't want two projectiles, and you don't want two hit scans. Two flankers is fine, because in the current meta, mobility is king, and they can just ignore geometry entirely and attack targets not based on location. So double flankers is okay. Double projectile and double hit scan both are fairly weak. Now, you can kind of, like, some of the characters you can get away with, like Reaper, for example, is like short range, really high damage. So even if you have like a Reaper and a Soldier or something, they're different enough, even though Reaper's like technically hit scan. So there's a little bit of a sanity check there, but running two DPS of the same kind limits your options quite severely. And especially if you do have double hit scan, things that prefer, like McCree prefers medium, like short to medium range engagements, and Soldier prefers medium to long range engagements. So in this case, you would not wanting to go cave, right? If you're running double hit scan, your optimal attack route is main. Good sight lines. Yeah, you're too close range if you're going cave or dark. And then there's so much cover if you go right over the boxes. Nice helix, holy shit. Yeah. That was a great explanation. I don't know why I'm choking on my words so much right now.
Much better.
And, like, you guys attacked that even though one of your guys got pulse bombed really early in the fight. Like, your Zen wasted trance, but then you attacked anyway. So especially on 2CP, you're very, very heavily favored to win if you can keep your team alive. But if you're attacking with only 5 members of a team, spawn advantage is so heavily in their favor. You're going to be fighting the same guy like twice or 3 times. So you need to keep people alive. And whereas on Escort or Koth, for example, there's more reasons for you to fight, you know, when you're one down. On 2CP, those reasons are very few and far between unless you're in like overtime or the person who died was not part of your win condition. I like how much attention you're paying to this Tracer here, and protecting your Zenyatta. Without your Zenyatta, or without you here, your Zenyatta would have been fucked. Now your aim is pretty trash. And you left your Zen, so. Did the Tracer die there? No. Well, your aim trash, but the Tracer is even more trash, so. All works out in the end. I hope you play like McCree, because I want to see the comparison in your aim between the 3 different hit scans. So you definitely, like, you seem to have a little bit of a loose aim style. It seems like you're kind of flicking, you're kind of tracking, but you're just, you haven't found, like, one technique that you're sticking to. And this is something that I noticed. I hope maybe more Widowmaker. Hopefully we see more Widowmaker.
Prepare your defenses. Select your hero.
Oh, did I miss the res? Oh, okay, I missed the res. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Tag me when soon. That's man, I always get confused when soon gets introduced in the Overwatch League because everyone just goes soon. Just the first 2 times I heard it, I thought they were booing him. I was like, what is going on? Back to Widow. Because apparently we're doing a Widow VOD. Who knew? Not me. You didn't know. I didn't know. Apparently we're looking at Widow.
To see to matters personally, but I will see them done.
Wouldn't you put Zen on the cart? You'd only put Zen on the cart if you had a static composition like Rhine Zarya. So you would put Zen on the cart on King's Row, but on Hollywood, characters like Genji uses his mobility from wall climb. D.Va doesn't have speed boost. Speed boost does not affect D.Va's boost, right? So you have nothing to gain from the utility of speed because your characters have their own mobility. So instead you gain the utility of harmony and discord because your team has mobility without speed boost. So on Hollywood, your Lucio is the payload bot. On King's Row, your Zenyatta is the payload bot. Is it normal if a Widow main, it's difficult to play any other hit scan? My aim is okay, but not at the level of my Widow. Like, McCree is definitely the closest hit scan to Widow, but it's a different FOV, right? It's a different FOV, different style of play, different positioning. So, yeah, if you can play Widow and only Widow, there's people who are Widow one-tricks and just suck shit at everything else. Oh, I'm not saying it. Baited.
Hello there.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend
Oh, did we cross 800 subs? Ain't that cool. Wow, that was a hard dive. Now you got hook shot.
We have to stop them.
Now it feels like you're doing either placed shots or drag shots. Now I'm kind of... Okay, so you've already switched off of Widowmaker here. Yeah, we're at 805. That's pretty awesome. 800 subs. God damn. Do you switch back onto Widow at any point? We're at 955 right now. Do you go back onto Widow? Stop buffering, YouTube. What did I say? I forget what I said. I always hate it when chat spams Monkus and I have no idea what I fucked up on. You do go back to Widow. Okay, let's keep watching. I'll save my, like, Widow theory talk for later. Audio quality of the VOD is weird. It's for me too. It's for me too. What do you think about no crosshair aim practice? It's fun. I think crosshairs are placebo, so yeah. Like, other than telling you exactly where the center of the screen is, crosshairs are eh.
Objective lost.
Will made real.
New defense point. Objective B.
Rip your soldier. Good roll for the reload. Yeah, so you're doing it on McCree too, right? You're kind of like half tracking, half flicking, and it's... Are you holding left click? Oh no, those were individual clicks. But like, look at your aim, how it's like we can never really tell the difference between aiming and firing. I can't tell if they're individual shots or if you're holding, because you're very close to the ROF, like max ROF. Okay, let's talk theory. Let's talk theory. Let's go into draining range. Hey, Jenica. Good to see you.
Justice will be done.
No, 9. 8.5. I think that's what I'm using now. I don't remember. Okay, so let's talk theory on... Let's just do it on McCree, for example. Okay, so... There's a couple different, like, things that you need to do when you're doing flick shots. Now, flick shots are... Like, what is the benefit of the flick shot? And the benefit of the flick shot is that it doesn't take into consideration the opponent's movement. That's the big thing, is that in one moment, you want to basically take a picture of the screen with your mind, and then in that moment, you want to, as quickly as possible, put your crosshair on the thing you want to hit, and click it. Just from here, just snap. Snap, like that. You just snap to your target and pull the trigger immediately. Right? There's no confirmation that my crosshair is over the target before I pull my trigger. So again, this is a drag shot. This is a drag shot where I'm pulling the trigger reactively when I see my crosshair go over the target.
Target down.
This is a flick shot. That's a flick shot. So drag shot, flick shot. And then there's kind of the tracking, the thing where you, like, there's tracking where you just keep your crosshair on the target. Now, there's a few different ways that you can actually do the flicks. You can do hard flicks, where, you know, you're like flicks like that. Or you can, what is normally good, is you can kind of like track near the target. So if we have these bots, for example, you'll want to keep your crosshair close to the target and then just like flick to your target once you see a movement pattern that you can kind of intercept like that. And then there's the kind of people who, if you don't want to like do the tracking so that you have smaller flicks, you basically keep your crosshair stationary and then flick to your target. Right? So there's a whole bunch of like different ways that you can do it. But the key factor that bridges all of these different flick shot techniques is that you never confirm that your crosshair is on the target before you pull the trigger. That's the difference. So this sort of thing where I flicked my target and then I pull the trigger, there was a delay in which I confirmed my crosshair was on the target before I pulled my trigger. And that existing, so the confirmation that my crosshair is actually on target before pulling my trigger, means that it's not a flick shot, because we have added basically another instance of reaction time. So when we're doing like those quick flicks, I just know, wow. I just know based off of distance and practice how far I need to move my mouse to actually hit my target. And that's why flick shots are faster and more accurate. So if you're trying to like track on McCree and then just pull the trigger when you see it cross the target, you've still added a reaction. If you're trying to do a placed shot, so against like a Widowmaker or something like that, if you try and place your crosshair on the target and then confirm it's on the target and then you pull your trigger, if they move at the last second, then you're going to miss. Which is why even if a person is standing still, you can place your crosshair close to the target, but then at the last moment, you want to be flicking onto the target. So that's the that's the big thing, is that you want to find what kind of flicking style you like the best, and you want to practice that, because you don't want to be adding in a moment of delay, which is going to be based on your action speed, to confirm that your crosshair is on the target before you actually pull the trigger. You need to basically trust your practice, know your sense, and your muscle memory that your flicks are going to take you from here to your target without basically having to confirm, once again, that your crosshair is actually on the target before you pull the trigger. So whether or not you place your crosshair and then flick, or if you track close to the target then do a tiny flick right when you're ready, it's up to you. But there needs to be this last motion before you actually flick to the target. So I'm trash, so, but yeah, you can't just kind of like track them and then shoot them. You don't want to remove that last little bit of confirmation that the crosshair is on the target. You want that part to be, you just know that you put your crosshair in the right place. This is a bit of a tangent, but do you recommend flicks with Zen or other projectile-based heroes? Yes. The lower your ROF, the higher and more commonly you're going to be wanting to flick, yes. So, usually low ROF heroes like McCree, Zenyatta, Hanzo, Widowmaker will all do flicks, whereas really high ROF, Diva, Tracer, Soldier, track. No, I use silvers on my Ergoducks. Did you watch today's match between Runaway and Kongtu? I watched the first two matches. I didn't watch anything else. I appreciate even your misses because it shows that practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect. Yeah, absolutely. ROF is rate of fire. Yep. I'm a high Masters, low GM support main, but can also flex. How high do you think I can get on PC? If you're a high Masters, low GM support main, I think you can get high Masters, low GM. I don't understand your question. Anyway, back to the VOD. So you just don't have a flicking aiming style. You're playing flick heroes, but you're not flicking, and I just feel like you have aiming as a general concept being look in the direction of the opponent, attempt to put the crosshair on the target, and then pull the trigger when the crosshair is on the target. But you've never thought of it in more depth than that. So especially like, if you, it's Surefour again tweeted this out, where you need to consciously think about each shot. And whether you're arm aiming, fingertip aiming, or wrist aiming is going to change, you know, what style you prefer. And everybody's different. There's no, like, one style that is preferable. But if you practice one style, so if like, for me on McCree, and McCree and Widow, again, flicking is my worst mechanical skill, by far. It's always has been. I have no previous FPS experience before Overwatch. So I've been trying like the close tracking with little flicks, and I've also been trying like the stationary crosshair with larger flicks. Not really quite sure which one I like yet, but yeah, you just got to find the way you work. But you want to find one technique that you can practice and get that muscle memory on, because at the end of the day, the flicks do require you to be accurate enough that you don't confirm the crosshair is on the target before firing, because that adds an unnecessary delay.
Attack commences in 30 seconds.
Musicians practice very slowly for muscle memory. Shouldn't that apply to aiming too? Well, the problem with practicing very slowly is if you practice very slowly, you'll be able to see whether or not your crosshair is on target. One of the fun ways for me to practice. This is a fun challenge. I'm going to do one more practice range thing. So when I am trying to practice, like when I'm trying to get a new sense, one of the things that I will try and do, I'm gonna embarrass myself so much because this practice is really hard. Okay, so you go here, and then you want to go, so boom. But try doing like a 180. So I'm gonna do 180. Ah, close. Close. So I try and basically do 180, and then I try and do a 360, just to kind of like get used to rapid turns. So But yeah, I probably have like a 5% success rate on that. But just to get used to 360s and 180s, that's one of the drills that I'll do is just like stand and then try and like 180 flick, 360 flick. And the bots are pretty big, so you can start closer if you don't want to do like the full 10-meter line. But yeah, just practicing my 180 boom. There we go. So that'll like practice your 180 flicks, and again, I'm not confirming that my crosshair is on the target, so I'm undershooting a little bit. I overshot that one, undershot, hit. So that'll like practice your 180 flicks for actually turning around and whatnot. So just little things that you can practice. Yeah, screen tearing is pretty bad when I do really, really rapid flicks like that. Again, the same attack composition. Hey, Julie's Toast. What if I'm using a controller? Then you give up and play Winston.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is more viable, flicking or tracking? Like, heroes have their preference, whether the hero prefers flicking or tracking. But at the end of the day, it's personal preference which one you're better at.
60 seconds remaining.
Taking the point.
Hey, Shane. So, did you see that last shot? Let's take a look at that last shot. That last one was good. All the others before it were kind of trash. But let's look here. Speed. You did one correct. So, you kind of... Do you see this? This is not the one that was correct. But this is really great. We're going to see two shots back to back. One which was good, one which was bad. So, we're going to see here. Now, the Moira jumps, we miss. But then what happens is we have our crosshair here, and we move our crosshair to the Moira, and then once we confirm that the crosshair is on the Moira, we pull the trigger. So crosshair moves to the target, it's on the target, bang, and then when she jumps this side, no, jump back the other way, this shot right here, see how the crosshair is more or less stationary? And then it flicked, so it's kind of like in one place, and then it was bang. And we saw no delay from the crosshair going onto the target to pulling the trigger. That's the proper shooting technique that you want. Was it on accident or not? But before it was kind of like, I'm trying to like move my crosshair. It was more like a drag shot or a placed shot. And then that last one was bang, an actual flick. So really minor difference, but enough to make the difference. Okay, so try and see whether he's drag shot, place. So that was place. Placed. Flicked.
Check me out. Securing the point.
That almost looked placed. I wasn't sure. It was like he's just so kind of like wishy-washy with his aim. He's not using a single technique.
Taking the point.
So you want to flick as Widow instead of track? Absolutely. Now you can kind of like track a target so that your crosshair starts closer and you have to flick a smaller distance. Or you can keep your crosshair stationary so you know where your crosshair is and then flick to a target from a farther distance. It's just which style you prefer. Do you like flicking smaller distances, in which case you are going to have to roughly track the opponent before you do that final flick? Or you just place your crosshair more or less in their area, and then once you see a good shot, you flick. So it's like there's a whole... flicking is not just one technique either. Yeah. These shots look very placed. They're not, like, really flicks.
I'm capturing the objective.
10 seconds.
Pick up the pace.
Like, at the end of the day, you gotta realize that I'm probably not the authority on Widowmaker and whatnot. Like, yeah, I've hit GM on Widow. It was a struggle. And I wasn't a Widowmaker one-trick account. It was a hit scan account, right? So on my hit scan account, I played Widowmaker. And I don't think I could one-tricking for me to get to GM on Widowmaker would be difficult. I can, like, 38. 38 is probably where I sit on Widowmaker normally. 39 probably wouldn't be that hard. But, like, trying to consistently maintain GM for me on Widowmaker would require a lot more effort and increase in my skills than I currently have. So I don't feel like I'm the authority on Widowmaker, so I'll certainly do VOD reviews, and I don't have no problem like teaching a Diamond how to do like improve his aim, but I don't feel like my aim is, or I may not, that maybe I'm missing techniques or factors that go into making a top 500 a semi-pro or a pro Widowmaker. So you got to realize that I'm not a top 500 Widowmaker. I feel confident talking about top 500 level on supports and tanks, and Widowmaker is by far my weakest character. So I'm not going to make a YouTube guide because I know there are way better Widowmakers out there and more qualified individuals who could do that.
Experience festivity.
Yeah, right click is track, left click is flick. On Zen. On Zen.
I'm on fire!
And again, that comes down to the rate of fire argument, right? Lower rate of fire, more flicking. Higher rate of fire, more tracking. Like, yeah, I have no doubt that I could be a GM Widowmaker consistently, but with my current level of practice and ability, no. And it's just because I don't spend enough time practicing my aim or playing Widowmaker.
No one can hide from my sight.
Visually,
Now, this is kind of like the more boring part of Widowmaker, where it comes down to, like, nobody's contesting you. So this position, whether you're in this position or you're on the high ground on the right side, you know, the high ground on the right side may be a little bit better because it'll give you a lot nicer sight lines into, oh, I'm on black screen, into this doorway, as well as a little bit nicer angle onto this spawn room without getting blocked by these pillars. But here you're trading out the consistent damage for the necessity to get picks, and your sight lines are blocked by these pillars in the low walls here. So yeah, at this point in time, it is going to come down to whether or not you get your headshots. But the one thing that you've really neglected for a vast majority of your time is your Venom Mine. So if you are at the point where you don't think you're going to be getting contested, just chucking that shit on point makes a big difference. 75 damage is nothing to scoff at. Like, 75 damage, if you land that on somebody, first of all, it gives you wall hacks if they do kind of like go behind Templar, behind Pillar or the walls or anything like that. But 75 for the mine, 120 for a body shot, put somebody at 5 health. So Venom Mine will basically turn a body shot into a headshot. You can think of it that way. So you need to be using Venom Mine way more aggressively and offensively here.
visually short.
Just won 4 out of 5 games by avoiding the holy trinity of shit positioning. Could just be RNG, but it felt way better. Hey, that's awesome, dude. Congrats. Nice shot.
Taking the objective.
A legend falls.
I think you're going to cap this.
All systems checked out. I'm on fire!
Visually short.
So yeah, we still haven't used your Venom. Oh, you guys all C9'd. Oh, man. Or did you win? Or no, you C9'd. You C9'd. That's so funny.
3 to 2.
Oh, we did a VOD earlier where I talked about the holy trinity of positioning. It's for Zenyatta. Like, it was just something I made up for that specific VOD review, but Zenyatta wants to care about being close to corners or covers. Health packs and routes of retreat were the 3 things that I was talking about for Zenyatta. Does not apply to all heroes. That was specific to Zenyatta. How does the respawn timer in 2CP work exactly? They've never published the exact details about how the 2CP timer works, so I don't know because I haven't tested it extensively. And now we're on Soldier. Ugh. No, he didn't do too bad on Widow at all.
30 seconds.
Oh, did somebody talk in chat and say don't pick Widow this time? He was doing fine on Widow, man. Do you think he needed to grapple to the more aggressive position there? On the right side, probably. He seemed to be doing fine from his location, but normally right side has a little bit better sight lines. Best way of explaining the spawns is they lied. Yeah, spawns are weird.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Feeling spry.
Defend objective A.
Heal up here. Tactical necessity.
Let's watch that again.
Genji on mute.
Spry.
Defend objective A.
Nice Helix.
Heal up here.
I really like the pursuit on the Winston too, not letting him get out. Like, a lot of people would have just allowed that Winston
Genji
to
on mute,
retreat
please.
instead of, you know,
Aw.
pressuring him. Sucks that you lost your Mercy.
I'm on
Oh, you shot up, left, right side.
You
right
put a
side.
lot of work in this fight. Your aim just went to potato there, but no, nice. And your Mercy should be getting back. One of the things that I'd be doing here is, unless somebody else is going to pick up your Mercy, you could always just run back and pick her up. So, here, we talked about it in this VOD, technically. Rotations, right? They went their left, our right. So they're going to Mega. So this is a rotation call right now. This is a rotation call. Because if you are on this box, this is when rotate would be called. Finally, we found an example. That instead of going main, which we're set up for, they're going right. So we've got this box.
And the section that was cut out of this video right here was going over an Anubis map theory. Now, this section was a little bit more involved and was a glimpse of some of the other content that we could explore if it was of interest to the viewers. So definitely give this one a look. I think it was pretty cool, and let me know if you want to see more map theory on this channel.
Sic transit gloria.
We need to defend the objective.
Yeah, he did just kind of eat that Winston jump, kind of like no attempt to evade it at all.
I require
Objective lost.
I love sitting in this crow's nest.
New defense point. Objective
Yikes, standing still, boy. It's a bit dangerous.
everyone heal up.
Interesting flank from there, Moira. Oh, huge hammer.
The objective is under attack.
I really liked the attempt at helixing Mini
Moira.
Diva. It was good. I know what you were trying to do. I don't like that you placed your healing station and then immediately fucked off it. That's annoying. You're gonna lose this, aren't you? You lost. Okay, I'll just give you a quick. I'm gonna refund your VOD, honestly, dude. If you're watching this, I'm just gonna I'm gonna do that right now. Actually, I'm gonna refund your VOD because holy shit, we got really distracted during that one. But yeah, hope you gained something from it. But yeah, since that we were very much focused on things that were not you, I'll refund the price of your VOD review. But let me just give you a few tips on Soldier before we run away.
It's one small
Okay,
step.
let's get into Soldier, main, H.
We're all soldiers now.
Okay, so you were kind of like on this position. Just a couple tips on Soldier. Just for the guys who haven't watched the stream. One of my favorite places to be on Soldier is actually up in this location. And if you're a Mercy, honestly, like here on Anubis B, as well as this similar location on Hanamura B, where you, on Hanamura B, where there's that like shrine that you can stand up off of. If you're a Mercy player and you can get into this location, a Sombra's really good here, a Soldier's really good here. This is high ground right overlooking the point. This is so strong. Like, if divers jump up or fall down, like, a dive team on the ground can't deal with you without committing resources. So even if they do commit those resources to dealing with you, those are resources that they have expended. So, yeah, holding up on this location on Anubis is so strong on Soldier. And lastly, just teach you a couple fun animation cancels on Soldier. Is that, I need to turn visor on. Settings, heroes, general, spawn, elephant, Hey Jayne, you're shit? Yes, that is quote 1. I am indeed shit.
Now entering the Temple of Anubis.
We're
So,
all soldiers
just a few
now.
things. First of all, tactical visor will reload your gun, as well as you can cancel biotic field with it. So if you see, I have 2 ammo and I have the biotic field. So if I press biotic field and tactical visor basically simultaneously, but biotic field just a moment before, it will
I've got you in my sights.
reload my gun, and biotic field just appears on the ground. So normally biotic field will interrupt your firing, but you can skip a reload and skip an animation with this animation cancel on Soldier. So if you play Soldier, this is an animation cancel you need to know. Let's just wait to get visor back. And lastly, your reload in visor is much shorter, so usually you want to reload right before your visor ends as well. So 3, right? And then
I've got you in my sights.
that's the animation. As opposed to if you were just normally firing and placing your biotic grid or biotic station, it looks like this. So if you're firing, see how there's a break in your firing where when you place your field down? That gets ignored.